Welcome to Soulful Living Radio. I'm Lisa James, your host of this podcast, where I interview guests who, are into the woo and intuition and all things spiritual. I love and psychological too. And today, my guest is Val Lovelace. She is the founder and executive director of Maine Death with Dignity, a nonprofit she established in 2014. Among other of the end of life topics that Val is very involved with, she organized and led a grassroots effort to pass a medical aid in dying law, which is unbelievably incredible. She's also the mother of 3 adult children and an accomplished artist. In fact, I saw one of Val's paintings this morning on the Facebook, and it looked like a photograph of your wolves. It's amazing. And also an incredible quilter. Val is a retired Navy veteran of 20 years. She holds a Master of Science degree in Human Relations from Husson University in Bangor, Maine, and a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Technology from the University of Southern Maine. And a fascinating aspect of Val is she became ordained in June 2022 after completing the Chaplaincy Institute of Maine 2-year interfaith program, which I'd love to chat with her about, but also not most importantly, but extremely important, Val has created an amazing healing modality that is something that I've never personally heard of or experienced in my life. And so we'll chat about that. Welcome, Val, to the show.
Thanks, Lisa. It's really a pleasure to chat with you, as always.
Yes, we have fun. We have so much fun. Val's been a friend for a long time and has given me the healing treatment numerous times, which I can't say enough about. So can you share a little bit about the healing modality and tell me how that all came to be? Because I'd love to focus on that. That seems to be
Sure. So, I one of the things I didn't put in my bio is I'm also a holistic practitioner. I studied homeopathy with the School of Homeopathy in Devon, England, and I've been practicing since about 2004. And what I love about homeopathy is there's something magical that happens with these remedies and our mind-body complex that Western medicine just can't seem to reach. And I think it is because we are complex beings, and interwoven in our physical matter is also our energetic matter, like who we are and what makes our pile of atoms a living pile of atoms versus a dead pile of atoms, right? And it was through the study of homeopathy and experiencing the healing of homeopathic remedies and shamanism that I sort of began to play around with this idea that the things that we experience in our lives, we truly embody, like our body carries those things, particularly if we're not able to completely process them through. We become this sort of like a warehouse for trauma or grief or whatever. And there's a way to reach that and resolve that through a practice that, like, I really don't know what to call it yet. I call it dumpster diving. It is setting an intention to go into your body and actually partner. Like, I think that's our first marriage, right? Our spirit binds with physical matter, and we bloop into this world as a human being. And so it's engaging in that connection between spirit and physical matter, where we can find the conflicts and actually resolve them. It's kind of fascinating.
It is. Yeah. I love what you said. That's our first marriage. Isn't that true? I love the power of that. That's amazing. And I know for experience, it's different. What you do is very different on multiple levels. One of the things that's different about it is you are a guide. Can you explain that? Right. You're not the practitioner per se.
Right. Yeah. So I'm more of a facilitator. And I feel, so I have this great sense of autonomy and respect for a person's self-determination, as you might guess by passing a medical aid in dying law in the state, that I think it's important for the person who needs the healing to be in charge, to be in the driver's seat of their own healing. And the only way to do that is to help them find the conflicts. So I create the space, I set up the facilitative environment, if you will, for that person to then go inside of themselves. And it's almost like a Dora the Explorer type of activity where where you begin to explore these places in your body that ache or hurt or twinge or whatever, and then discover what's behind that, to try to resolve it. And I don't, you've been through it a couple of times. How would you describe that journey that you took, into your body?
So the first time we did it, I didn't know what to expect because it's hard to describe the process. So I was
Yeah.
very, um, you know, uh, the fool in the tarot, just took the leap because I trust
Right.
you, you're extremely trustworthy and I trust you with my life. And so I didn't know what to expect. And I loved it because, first of all, you have a very maternal vibe. You feel very safe whenever Val is working with you. And, and so you asked, the way you asked to just have an awareness of a point in your body that has tension or uncomfortable, or and just zoom in, and like you said, be an explorer. You kind of shrink down like that. What was that movie from the 60s? uh what was that
Oh,
movie?
like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or
No, no,
no,
the incredible. No, right when they shrunk. Oh, what is it? They go into the body. I'm having like this. I'm having a memory of when I was very little, and there's a movie where they shrink into the
yeah,
human body, and they're going through all the cells and everything from the 60s. It'll come to
it's
me.
yeah, it's exactly that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that was, and the information that you guided me to gather was sh- shocking. Is it's not a negative shocking. It's stunning actually,
Profound,
and
yeah.
it is profound, and it perfectly fits whatever I was going through at the time. And what I love about working with you, because you don't unpack it, we're just on the journey together, and you don't unpack it, and there's a part of your mind, your awareness as you're going through this process with you that is like, oh yeah, it's weird because your awareness is understanding what's happening and it's exactly the right thing, but you're not consciously like logically thinking about anything. You're just feeling
Right.
feelings.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely not a left brain activity. And that's why I have you close your eyes. You can't, your left brain can't work if you close your eyes.
That's
Um,
great.
but yeah, it's, I again, I don't know how to describe it really either. If this is not something they teach us in sixth grade health class, right? We're
No.
not taught to befriend our bodies. We're not taught to actually recognize and have an intentional relationship with this physical matter that, that has actually come together in a conscious agreement to be our body while we're here.
That's right.
We're not taught that. And so we spend the whole of our lives ignoring our aches and pains and ignoring, trying to just like bulldoze through anything that's, a conflict or that's harming us or whatever, doing the best that we can. We're never taught that our body is actually the tool that can help us towards healing.
And also because I'm only hesitant not to share too much because I almost want to leave it as a surprise for people, because then I feel like they're not expecting anything, and that's why I'm really
Right.
not sharing too many details. But it is very different than other ways to access. For example, The Body Keeps Score by Gabor. He talks about how your body holds shame
Yes.
and trauma, and there's your back pain could be there's a lot of, like, even back to Louise Hay,
Right.
in the day, she talked about how your body signals different things. This is that, but it's so much more than that, because you are
Yeah, and I think
using
it's
this modality to, you're using your imagination. I'll say that is really a
absolutely.
key part of it. You're very creative using imagination. It's
Yep.
almost like storytelling in a way, and the way that you guide a person to look around the environment. Let's say, I'll just give a little taste, just so I'm not giving too much away, but just so people kind of get an idea what this looks like, is as you're getting into a, let's say, a sore shoulder, you're not just looking at the shoulder muscle and the joint as that. You're looking at it, and like you say, let whatever you see, that's what it is. It might seem crazy, but that's what it is you're seeing. And you might see a railroad track, or you might see a big machine, or you might see little,
Right.
it doesn't matter what it is. And that's what I, and then what Val does is she asks to go into that, whatever that thing is, and you just keep going to almost a microscopic level to
Right.
the seed of it. And then you also guide the person to explore and find the tool, or or the remedy for that. And you go back and you go back to the area and heal it. It's just incredible. I can't say enough about it. It is really incredible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think you can give away too much. Like I once had a client who he was absolutely certain he knew what he wanted to deal with when we did his session. He knew he had exactly in his mind what was going to happen. And his body had other plans. Like this mind body complex, there is something in our vital force that knows what's important to heal. And so whatever intention he had, the only image he could come up with was a window. And as he went to look through the window, the blinds went down.
Interesting.
And we stayed that way for 45 minutes. He's like, I can't get into this window. And it's like, I don't think we're supposed to be looking through the window.
Wow.
What else is going to happen? And so we started to wrap up his session because it was very clear that there just wasn't going to be any progress. And suddenly he had an image. He burst into tears and he said, oh my God, I know what this is about. And that's when his session really started.
Whoa.
And
That's
he had been trying to, it was really fascinating.
Yeah, and you never feel rushed with the process with you because because I'm always very aware of once it gets to be an hour, let's say, or whatever, I'm like, okay, it's probably going to end soon, but it's not. You just allow space and you keep asking and it's until it's done, however long that is, which is very different from any other healing modality. You go to a Reiki person or any kind of other spiritual practice or even medical situation. It's that once that hour is done, that's it. Even therapy is like that. But with you, it's there's so much space to just keep exploring until you're done. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it becomes very clear to me as the facilitator when that is happening. So I've had sessions that last half an hour. I've had sessions that last 3 hours. Yeah. It really depends on what the body is producing as symptoms and then how that gets resolved. And the thing I do want to say too is it's not only the conflict that's embodied, but it is also the solution to the conflict that's embodied. Because you can't have a conflict if there's not a solution, right? And that's one of the things I learned with homeopathy and holistic medicine is if you're a person who tends to be very chilly, then somewhere in your life very hot lives too. Like you can't have half of a thing. You have the whole.
You're blowing my mind here right now.
Yeah, you have the whole spectrum.
Talk more about that. I love that.
Yeah, so all of our symptoms are along a continuum. Whether it's a mental symptom, an emotional symptom, or a physical symptom, it's like, so let's take that hot cold continuum. I'm a person who tends to get very chilly. So somewhere else in my life, coldness also lives. Either I experienced coldness growing up or whatever, on a physical and mental, emotional level. But also heat is there. So where in my life is heat? Well, I love spicy food. That's hot, right? So heat is going to live somewhere in my life if cold lives in my life.
You're blowing my mind right now. I've never heard this before. And I'm fascinated by this. For example, my husband he's always hot, like temperature. He's always boiling hot. Right. And we were just talking about that yesterday in this, not this exact way, but just, it was interesting that he thought about it. And he said, I always run hot. I need to find a way to cool myself down. In other words, maybe I should try ways to relax more so I'm not so stressed. So this is fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. Yeah, and do you tend to be a chillier person?
I am. Oh, I'm always cold.
There's the hot and cold right there.
I'm freezing all the time.
In your partnership, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and in homeopathy, we call this the tension of opposites.
Okay.
So we in health, which is very rare, humans really aren't healthy, but in our best state, we are in homeostasis, which sort of has us kind of moving a little bit among these tensions in our lives. So there's fear and anger, hot and cold, all of those things. And if we're healthy, we just sort of like stay in balance and touch on those things a little bit. As we get out of balance, then we hit those extremes. So you might become very angry instead of irritated, or incredibly fearful instead of maybe hesitant. And that's when you know that you're needing some help, is when these extremes begin to manifest themselves.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me also about on that sort of path? Because once somebody is at a point, they come to see you, I need help, they're probably already beyond, they've probably already allowed their system to get so out of whack, right? So
Yeah, that can be the case.
okay, so what kind of things have you learned for yourself and working with clients that a person can do on a day-to-day basis or more regularly to help keep things at home? What are some of the things you recommend for people?
I definitely recommend doing anything you can to continue evolving your spiritual self
Mm,
and your mental and emotional self in terms of self-awareness.
right.
We have this thing in the Western world where we think it's a bad thing if we're fearful or anxious or whatever. It's like all humans have some kind of neuroses, right? We're all weird. We're just weird in different ways. Learn how to embrace your weirdness for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we do, particularly in the West, is we try to bulldoze our way through things. I know that's certainly my MO. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you're tired, don't keep going.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to stop and rest and take time out and really learn how to honor your physical body for the gift that it is. I mean, this is like my Volkswagen. This is how I get around in this world. If I don't take care of my Volkswagen, I'm not going to get around in this world, right?
Right.
So you got to tend to the Volkswagen.
Yeah, if you don't do that, it's going to do it for you. Your body will break down and stop you anyways.
It will, because it has the wisdom. So
Mm.
this is the other thing that you're touching on. Our bodies have the wisdom to recognize when we are emotionally, mentally, or spiritually out of balance and produce symptoms for us to say, hey, there's something going on here I think you should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
We're not taught that in sixth grade health class either.
No.
We're taught
No.
take the aspirin, take the Advil,
Yeah.
whatever, take the cough medicine, and try to make the symptom go away, when the symptom is really trying to get our attention to say, there's something that's not being dealt with here. And the longer we delay dealing with it, the deeper the pathology can become.
Like anxiety, for example, it's an epidemic now, especially among young people,
Right,
teenagers and people in their 20s particularly, and probably 30s.
right.
Everybody has anxiety now. And I just saw a TikTok this morning, or was it an Instagram reel? I can't remember. And this woman at a TED Talk, and she said something that I'm just still processing because I'm not 100% sure I agree. But she said, when your body is feeling the feelings of that you're recognizing as anxiety, like you're taking a test and your heart is pounding, your palms are sweaty. And she said, that may not be anxiety. That could be excitement. That could be preparing, it may not be anxiety. And she kind of made me go, oh, I wonder if the labeling of things also could be problematic. That
I think labeling can be problematic, and that's why, like, if you came to me saying, I'm really suffering from anxiety, particularly when I'm taking a test, I would want to know more about it.
mm-hmm,
Like, because it's not just anxiety. There's something around an examination or being examined. There's something around people looking at you. Like, what does it mean to you to undergo examination?
wow.
So one person may be fearing, I can't get a bad grade on this because it's going to affect all my other bad grades and I'm going to fail. Or I can't get a bad grade because my dad promised me $750 if I got a good grade. So you have to find out what's the why behind the thing that's happening,
Yeah, that's so.
because that's what makes anxiety different.
What about
Um,
depression? Can you speak on that at all?
yeah, I can, from having experienced that many years.
Me too.
um,
Hmm.
I think depression is the result of suppressed trauma and suppressed, like, self-editing. Like, you can't be feeling that anymore, or you shouldn't be feeling that, or let's not go down that path. We've been down that path so many times before. And yet, so eventually our bodies, and which affects our emotions, just begin to stop producing symptoms,
Wow.
that's tragic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say, for folks who are suffering from depression, find one little way you can get into those symptoms and allow them. Give yourself the freedom to let go, let out the things that you keep trying to keep in.
You know, you're touching on something which is very interesting because same as myself, I've suffered from depression off and on for my whole adult life. And when it is very severe, you do feel, and the word is not, you feel dead inside. You feel just dead.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have, there's just no feelings. Once it gets to the point where it's really bad, there's really no feelings at all. You just feel nothing you don't
right.
feel any joy. I remember at one point in my life when I had my Lyme disease kicked in 2017, and a lot of other things going on at the time. And I remember my daughter, when she got her first job, I was standing there while she took the call when they gave her the news that she got the job. And I was pretending to be excited because I didn't feel anything. And I recognized, oh my goodness, I am so into my depression that I can't feel anything about this. And I normally
Right.
would feel ridiculously excited, right? That's
Exactly.
that's when you're, like you said, you're in trouble. Then you have to. I love your suggestion though of allowing some feeling in, allow it to come
Yeah,
out.
anything you can, like, I will watch stand-up comedy.
Yeah, yeah,
Anything I can do to get myself to laugh, then
yeah.
I know if I can laugh, I can cry,
Love
right?
it. Yes.
Um, because of that
Oh
tension
wow.
of
You're
opposites again,
yes,
right?
there it is again. So that's like a
Yeah,
theme in our talk today is the
right.
opposites. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And would you say that in your work with people in this way, men and women, is it a different experience for them, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I'm trying to think of the clients I have worked with. Um, I don't see a difference.
I know that
I
men, like we're
think,
talking about cis men and cis women, obviously not, not other gender presentations or experiences. We're talking, like many men who present more masculine, have a more masculine energy, do
right,
avoid any kind of
right,
anything. They don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to do any of that. And
right.
those are the type of folks I'd really invite to do that. I think they need it more than anybody because they are really avoiding that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and society puts a lot of pressure on that as well, right? People who don't follow the binary or the way it's allegedly supposed to be, they get even more oppressed
That's
and
right.
more suppressed
That's right.
because the idea is they're not allowed to be who they are
Yes.
because society doesn't agree that they should be who they are,
Yes.
and that is so tragic and so wrong, and so against nature. If we look to the natural world for the solutions to humanity, we would be a lot better off because nature reflects every possible state of being
Wow.
in its full expression and its full beauty. And you don't see two different trees standing next to each other saying, "Don't touch me."
Yeah. That's
Why
true.
don't you go to the other yard because you don't belong here? You
Yeah.
know, it's the
And,
same with
trees
animals.
trees don't experience shame, for example. Shame is
No,
very human
exactly. They
emotion.
stand there buck ass naked and they're not ashamed, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I saw some photography the other day. Someone had caught a wolf and a bear playing with each other.
Wow.
They were friends,
Wow.
and this photographer followed them for 4 months, photographing this wolf and a bear. It's like nobody had told them, "Hey, you're a wolf and you're a bear, and you shouldn't be doing this. You should be mad at each other or hungry or something."
Right.
But through our conditioning in our modern world and our religious world, we have stepped away from nature. We don't want to be a part of nature. We think we're separate from nature, and I think it's really been to our detriment. We
I
don't recognize ourselves as mammals
I
in this
totally couldn't agree
world.
more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. And that's a philosophical, conversation and a spiritual conversation. It crosses all the disciplines because it is
Right?
it is something that is so prevalent in our time. And I believe that a lot of human beings think that we are meant to dominate nature, not understanding that actually nature dominates us. Let's just look at tsunamis and hurricanes and what it can do to our
Right.
buildings and our structures. So we are kidding ourselves if we think that we're actually in charge at all.
Yeah, exactly. Even for a second, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if
And
we
can
look at the
you
human, yeah.
can you imagine if think back through your life and all of the things that you ever imagined were wrong with you or
Mm,
not enough about you or
mm,
too much about you. If you had had the validation that those were perfectly just the right thing for you. Imagine how your life would have unfolded in a much less complicated way. That you are perfectly imperfect just as you are, and you are perfectly natural and beautiful the way you came into this world, and the way that you're developing and living your life is perfect.
Wow. I love
What a
that.
concept, right?
What a beautiful sentiment to end on. I love that. And that is part of what working with you does. A big part of it is it allows you to explore all the parts of yourself that, some things that you uncover are healing, and it's always enlightening. It is always transformative. It is always aha at every turn. It's a aha, it's epiphanies over and over. It is
Yeah,
each corner of the is an epiphany. And then after working with you and doing a session, the way that you debrief, it's done in a way that's still very person led. It's still the person is, you just give your reflections and kind of remind, and that I love, because it's such a process that's so internal. And I write down the whole thing after. I have a whole big that I write down every detail because I never want to forget.
oh, that's
However,
lovely.
I've never forgotten some of the things because they were so profound and so effective in even just having an awareness.
Yeah,
As Carl Jung says, what is unconscious controls us. So the more
right,
we can bring into our conscious awareness, which is what I also work with people, and I know you do too, the more awareness we have of our unconscious stuff, the less suffering we'll have, because just being
right,
aware of these things helps to bring
right,
in the healing. Because otherwise we're just
right,
reacting. We have no, why did I go from zero to rage when my
right. Yeah,
husband turned down the burner when I was cooking?
right. We,
Like,
we,
he's
we
trying
all
to
end up
help.
being we
Yeah.
all end up being Peter Pan trying to escape our shadow, right?
Yeah, I love it. Oh, that is really good. That's so true. And it's pinned to our foot the entire time. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Val, tell me how people can reach you if they're interested in this process at all.
They can reach me. I'm on Facebook, Val BB Lovelace. That's one way to do it. BBLovelace at gmail.com is another way to do it.
Mhm.
I don't have a website up yet. I will soon, but
Perfect. That's the email and the Facebook is a great way to reach
yep.
out, learn more
Or
about
just
you.
just search for Valerie Lovelace Maine, and you'll find me.
And also, you can do this long distance, because we've never met in person ever. We've known each other for
Right.
7 or 8 years now. I've never met you in person, and it's just as effective online as it is in person. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something that people can enjoy. They can be anywhere in the world as long as they have an internet. They can work.
Right.
Love that.
Right.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a thrill. And for me personally, I honor you. I love you. I respect you. And you're a gift. And everybody, I've said this, and I almost yell this to her, Val, when we have meetings. Like, people need your healing. They need this. Like, the world needs you and the work that you do. So I'm grateful for
Thank
you
you
to
for
be here
saying
today.
that.
It's
Thank
true.
you for saying that, Lisa, and for having me here. Thanks so much.
You bet. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
You
Bye
too.
bye now.
Bye bye.